from blanks to maps. Avoid the traps. Isa, why do you make pss, pss? Are you a snake? I'm not a snake, but I'm your teacher. I'm trying to teach you question types of the listening. Okay? Blanks means fill in the blanks, like completion. Maps means diagrams. Traps are like tricks, so avoid the tricks. Who's drawing on our slides now? Again? Who's this person? Oh my God. Again? How can I block you? Who's drawing? Somebody is trying to disturb us. Delete. Clear your drawings. What are the question types that you might be encountering in your listening exam? Number one, writing words and or numbers. What does that mean, Isa? In the listening exam, sometimes they might ask you to write words or and numbers. They might give you a sentence completion question, like fill in the blanks. And they might ask you to write words and or numbers. For example, they might ask you to write one word, like the word apple or table. Or they might ask you to write one word and or a number, like 5 apples or 2 tables. 2, which is a number, and tables, which is a word. So a word and a number is what you are allowed is what you are allowed to write. I'll show you examples, do not worry. Or 2 words and a number. For example, 5 beautiful cars. Yeah? 5, which is a number, beautiful, which is a word, cars, which is also a word. Okay? I'll show you examples, do not worry. So this is the first question type or the first question category. In this question category, by the way, you might have a lot of questions. We explain them in detail in our full courses on our website. But because this is an express crash course, I'm going to give you a general idea. Yeah? These questions might include sentence completion. They'll give you sentences where you have to complete. Form completion, where they give you an application form that you have to fill. Table completion, they will give you a table where you have to complete. Summary completion, where they give you a summary that you have to complete with words and with numbers as well. The other question type, I call it choosing correct letters. They will give you letters like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. I'm not gonna finish the song, do not worry. Yeah? You have to choose the correct letter, like multiple choice questions, A, B, C. Yeah? Or matching question. You have to match the question to the correct answer. Yeah? Or labeling question. They will give you a map with many letters and you have to label the map. Yeah? So you have to write a letter on the answer sheet. So in the listening exam, you either write a word and or a number, or you choose a letter, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's not going to be E, F, G, but yeah, you got it. Okay. In our full course, we explain all the different question types, labeling, mapping, matching, sentence completion, flowchart completion, form completion, all of these things. But in this course, because it's a lifesaver emergency course, we're going to give you samples of each question type. Okay? Just for the sake of your time. And let's start with the first one. Writing words and or numbers. This is an example of a question type. If you look here, can you see my cursor? Yeah, can you see it? Okay. Complete the notes below. Write one word and or a number. The first thing that you have to do in your IELTS exam when you do the listening is to read the instruction. This is called the instruction. Writing one word and or a number. What does that mean? One word and or a number. This means if you write two words, you are going to get a 0. You're only allowed to write one word or one word and a number, or one number. For example, you can write the word apple. It's one word. It's fine. You can write two apples, like number 2, which is a number, and apples, which is a word. This means we have one word and a number. Or you can write 2, which is a number. So you can write one word, you can write a number, you can write one word and a number. But if you write two words, 0. And this is very serious, by the way. A lot of people, especially the ones who do not know about the IELTS, even native speakers, might make mistakes. Because you might write the correct answer, but you might write it incorrectly. This means you're going to get a 0. So focus. Okay? This is an example of what we call a form completion or notes completion question, where they give you a form or some bullet points, you can call them notes as well, where you have to complete these notes. And this is part of part 1 in the IELTS listening exam. In part 1, as I told you before, it's a dialogue between two people about an everyday situation, like someone calling a gym to inquire about the membership fees, or someone calling a hotel to book a room, correct? So it's going to be a dialogue. When it's two people, you have to be careful. Why? Because there might be back and forth. People might change their opinions when they talk, or they might give you multiple options for the answer to choose from. So you have to be careful. They're not going to give you the answer in a very easy way. They might give you 2, 3, or sometimes 4 possible answers to choose from because they want to test your understanding. And I will show you. So before we start the test, they're going to give you the question booklet, which is the A4 papers where you have to read the questions. And they will give you time to read the questions before the recording starts. When you read the questions, you have to be careful. You have to read and at the same time highlight the key words. In other words, the most important words. In other words, the most important nouns, most of the times, that are going to tell you when and where to find your answer. Let me read it with you quickly before we play the recording, because I'm going to play the recording. For example, here we have like a form. What does it say? What does it say here? Bankside Recruitment Agency. You read the title. So looks like it's someone probably looking for a job. Maybe. Yeah, it's a recruitment agency. The address of the agency. This is the address. Okay, the name of the agent, Becky something. So I'm apparently waiting to hear the family name of Becky. So we have to be careful. We have to write a name. Obviously, you have to highlight the keywords. Becky is a keyword because after we hear the word Becky, we're going to hear the answer, obviously. Okay. The phone number is written already. Best to call her in the morning, maybe in the evening. Yeah. So probably a time. Yeah. So here we are expecting to hear a time. Maybe. Typical jobs. Okay. So this is also a keyword because they're moving from one topic to another topic, which is typical jobs. Clerical and admin roles, mainly in the finance industry. Finance is a keyword. Must have good something skills, maybe speaking skills, maybe writing skills. Yeah, something skills. Jobs are usually at least one something. Yeah. Pay is usually, this is the pounds sign. Yeah. £5, maybe £7. Yeah. Pay is the amount of money that you're going to receive. So we read the questions using our pencil because obviously you're going to have your pencil on the exam. You're going to highlight the important words, the words that I told you, and you're going to be expecting to hear something. Okay? So we're going to play the recording now. I'm not going to tell you the answers. I want you to do it like a test by yourself first, and then I'm going to play it again, and then I'm going to explain while the recording is being played. Okay? Thumbs up, yeah? So you have to focus. Let me just play the recording. Tell me if you can hear the recording. Yeah? Did you hear anything? No. Okay, 1 second. Can you hear anything now? Still no? Okay. It's difficult part. Share. Okay, it's advanced. Okay, advanced. Computer audio. Computer audio. But at the same time, I want to share the screen. Advanced. Can you still see the screen? You cannot see the screen. Oh, wait.
You will hear a woman
Can you hear the
phoning a friend.
audio? Can you hear the you can hear the audio, but you cannot see the screen. Interesting. 1 second. Uh, can you hear the audio? Wait with me. There is always a solution. Where there is a will, there is a way. Don't give up.
Agency. First, you
See? Don't give up. I'm telling you. Don't give up. Don't get scared and worried and cry. Keep trying. And it's gonna happen. Yeah? All right. Thank you, Najwa. Oh, not Najwa, it's Zahra. All right. We looked at the questions. By the way, is the audio high enough? Is it good? Okay. We looked at the questions. Now, pretend that you're in the exam room. Well, Fran, stop playing with your phone. Yeah, in the exam, they're not going to give you a phone. They're going to give you a 0 in the exam. Stop playing with your phone. Okay, taking notes. All right, shall I play the recording? I'm not going to pause it. I'm going to let you go with it, okay?
You will hear a woman phoning a friend to get information about a job agency. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
As I told you in the exam, in each part, it's going to be having 3 poses. The first pose, and at the middle, and in the end. That's why they told you, look at questions from 1 to 5. In part 1, we have 10 questions, as I told you. They're not going to play them at once. They're going to play from 1 to 5.
Now listen carefully.
They're going to play them from 1 to 5 and then 6 to 10, okay? Just letting you know.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, William. This is Amber. You said to phone if I wanted to get more information about the job agency you mentioned. Is now a good time?
Hi, Amber. Yes, fine. So the agency I was talking about is called Bankside. They're based in Docklands. I can tell you the address now. 497 East Side.
OK, thanks. So is there anyone in particular I should speak to there?
The agent I always deal with is called Becky Jameson.
Let me write that down. Becky
Jameson. Jameson.
Do you have her direct line?
Yes, it's in my contacts somewhere. Right, here we are. 07866 510 333. I wouldn't call her until the afternoon if I were you. She's always really busy in the morning trying to fill last-minute vacancies. She's really helpful and friendly, so I'm sure it would be worth getting in touch with her for an informal chat.
It's mainly clerical and admin jobs they deal with, isn't it?
That's right. I know you're hoping to find a full-time job in the media eventually, but Becky mostly recruits temporary staff for the finance sector, which will look good on your CV, and generally pays better too.
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried because I don't have much office experience.
I wouldn't worry. They'll probably start you as a receptionist or something like that. So what's important for that kind of job isn't so much having business skills or knowing lots of different computer systems, it's communication that really matters, so you'd be fine there. And you'll pick up office skills really quickly on the job. It's not that complicated.
OK, good. So how long do people generally need temporary staff for? It would be great if I could get something lasting at least a month.
That shouldn't be too difficult. But you're more likely to be offered something for a week at first, which might get extended. It's unusual to be sent somewhere for just a day or two.
Right. I've heard the pay isn't too bad. Better than working in a shop or a restaurant.
Oh yes, definitely. The hourly rate is about £10, $11 if you're lucky.
That's pretty good. I was only expecting to get £8 or £9 an hour.
Done. This is part 1. This means this is the easiest part of the exam. So if you're getting less than 4 correct answers, this means do not go to the exam. All right. Let's do a group chat, quick chat. Number 1. What is the answer for number 1? Can you type in the chat? No, not all the answers, just one by one. What is number 1? Okay. Safia, for example, or not Safia, Yusuf is saying, I want you to focus here. The answer for number 1 is Becky Jamieson. That's Yusuf. Yusuf is gonna get Becky 0. I look serious, yeah? Because I am serious. Why? I'll tell you why. Becky is already mentioned in the question. If you write it again, you're gonna get a 0. So number 1, tip number 1, do not repeat words from the question. Write it down. Number 1, do not repeat words written in the question. That's number 1. Again, do not repeat words written in the question. Again, for the 4th time, do not repeat words written in the question. Cool? Cool. Safia is saying the answer. I want you to look at the chat. Yeah? Safia is saying the answer is only Jamieson. Safia is gonna get a 0. Again. Safia, where is Safia? Raise your hand. Safia, raise your hand. 0. Why? Look at the way she wrote the word Jamieson. Jamieson is a proper noun. In other words, it's a name of a person. In Arabic, it's an ism alam. In other words, you have to start with the capital letters. With the capital letters? In other words, you have to start with a capital letter. In other words, you're gonna get a capital 0. So Safia wrote the correct answer, but she's gonna get the correct 0. Oh, I got excited. Okay, so Becky Jamieson is a 0. Jamieson with a small j is also a 0. So tip number 2, when you write proper nouns, be careful with capital letters. See? That's why a lot of people go to the IELTS exam, they have proper English, but they do not get a good score because they do not know these kind of things. Okay? Tip number 3. In the listening exam, when you are asked to write names, they are going to spell out these names unless they are very common names like Michael, Justin, James. These words or names are not going to be spelled because they are like Ahmed and Muhammad in Arabic. Everyone is supposed to know them. But Jamieson, for example, could be written with so many different spellings. That's why they are giving you the spelling. Okay? So weird names or uncommon names are going to be spelled out. This is tip number 3. All right. So this is regarding number 1. All right. Please write the answer for question number 2 in the chat. Afternoon. Muhammad is saying until afternoon. All right. Muhammad Khalaf. Come here. Muhammad Khalaf wrote until afternoon. The speaker, I think, said until the afternoon. You wrote until afternoon. First of all, I want you to look at this sentence. Write one word and or a number. You wrote until afternoon. This is two words. Guess how many zeros you're gonna get? 2 zeros. Good. Okay, so Muhammad Khalaf is gonna get 2 zeros. Good. So what is the right answer? Afternoon. What if you write the afternoon? You're gonna get the zero. No problem. Why? Because the word the is mentioned. This is number one. Number two, you are only allowed to write how many words? One word. So you cannot write the afternoon. Okay? The correct answer is afternoon. And have you noticed that they tried to trick you in the recording? They mentioned afternoon and they also mentioned morning. If you noticed, they mentioned the afternoon and then somebody said the morning. They're trying to trick you. So you have to be careful. Okay? So they're not going to give you the answer in a very easy way. They want to test your understanding. Okay? So tip number 2, based on Muhammad Khalaf, do not exceed the word limit mentioned in the instruction. Okay? All right. So the correct answer is afternoon. And obviously, if you write after space noon, you're going to get 0 space 0. Because afternoon in English is one word. Even though it's technically 2 words, it's after the noon, but the way they write it is one word. Okay? So the word homework, blackboard, ice cream, these words are compound words. They are technically 2 words, but the way they are written is one word. Be careful. Tuqa is saying we cannot say until. No, you're not allowed to say until. Okay? So number 1 is Jameson. Number 2 is afternoon. What is the answer for number 3? Please write it in the chat. Communication, business, communication. Oh, the other people are being lazy. They're not typing. Business, type. Don't be lazy. I'm a general manager. I'm not going to type. Type. Communication. Okay. Aya, where is Aya? Wait. Oh, Alex, where is Aya? Aya Hasnawi. Look at Aya. Look at the chat. She's saying communication. She is going to get 0 indication. Why? Because she wrote communication with a capital C. Why capital C? It's not a name. It's not a country. It's not a city. It has to be communication with a small c. So you're going to get a 0 with a big Z. Okay? So tip number 3, or one of the tips, if the answer doesn't have to start with a capital letter, you're going to get a 0 if you wrote it with a capital letter. So capitalization is important. Obviously, the word business is wrong. Office is wrong. They tried to trick you, by the way. They mentioned the word office, and they also mentioned communication. Yeah? They want to test your understanding. But the correct answer is communication. And obviously, if you wrote the word communication, wait. Noor Khalid. Where's Noor Khalid? Raise your hand. Noor wrote the word communication with 1 M. If you wrote the answer in the correct spelling, you're going to get... if you wrote the answer with incorrect spelling, you're going to get a 0. Communication has 2 M's. you wrote one M, you're going to get 2 zeros. So another tip, wrong spelling, correct 0. Okay? Even if it's one letter, you will get a 0. Is it clear? Yeah? Clear? Clear. Oh, good to see you, Aya. I think last time we didn't see you, but thank you. Okay? All right. Number 4. Jobs are usually for at least one. You're saying week. Week. Okay. Where is Istabrak? Istabrak is saying week with a capital W. Capital W, you're going to get a capital Z for the word 0. So the correct answer is week, but with a small W. Okay. Yeah. Capitalization is important. If it's not a proper noun, if it's not a name of a city, a name of a country, or a name of something, don't start with a capital letter. Okay? Stabrak, so 0. So the correct answer is 1 week. They also tried to trick you here. They mentioned, I think, month. You have to be careful. All right. The answer for question number 5, please type it in the chat. Everyone is saying 10, but Hadil is saying 10 to 11 euros. Euros? Euros. Abrar is saying 11. Inji is saying 10. T-E-N. 10, 11, Mira. Okay. If you wrote, focus with me. If you wrote 10, why are you writing euros? They didn't mention the word euros, by the way. They mentioned pounds. Yeah? You're not living in Spain or in Italy. They're from England. Pounds. Okay? So 10 euros is 10 zeros. This is number 1. Number 2. Do you think if you write 10, which is 10, is going to be correct? Or if you write 10, T-E-N is going to be correct? Which one do you think is correct? 10 or T-E-N? Both. Correct. Both of them are correct. Why? Because if you look here, you're allowed to write one word, which is T-E-N, it's one word, or a number, which is 10. So both of them in this case are correct because of the instruction. You always have to compare your answer to the instruction. 10 is correct as a number. 10 is also correct as a word. Cool? Clear? Clear. Let me tell you a tip, because a lot of you made this mistake, which is starting certain words using a small letter and also starting certain words using a capital letter when it's not needed. And since capitalization is important in the IELTS exam, this is a trick only for my lovely, beloved students. No one is going to tell you this. It's only in Top Sport Academy. You are allowed to write all of your words using capital letters like this. Why? So you do not really have to think about making some letters capital or making them small. Write everything using block letters. Again, 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 write everything using block letters. Let me tell you why. The word Jameson, as I told you, you might write it with a small j. You might not pay attention. But a lot of you might pay attention because it's technically a family name, correct? But what if I tell you, for example, Kuwait Towers? We know the word Kuwait is the name of a country. So obviously we have to start with a capital K. But the word towers, tower is not really a proper noun. When you write it by itself, you can write it with a small t, correct? A tower. But when you say Kuwait Tower or Kuwait Towers, these two words together, they like a proper noun. It has to be with a capital K and a capital T. So sometimes it might not really be a proper noun, but it is a proper noun without you knowing. So you have to be careful. Okay? So write everything using block letters. Yeah? Like the Miracle Gardens or Burj Khalifa. Yeah? You got it? Write everything using block letters. So you do not really have to think about capitalization. So number 1, Jameson. Number 2, afternoon. Number 3, communication. Number 4, week. Number 5 is 10. Or you can also write TEN. This is also going to be correct. Okay? Do you want me to play the recording again and you can look at the script? Thumbs up. Huh? No? No need? Thumbs up if you want me to play it again. No need? No need. Okay, okay. No need. Thumbs down. Okay. Take a screenshot of the... Oh, you do not really have to take a screenshot. I'm going to upload it on YouTube. Okay? But I've highlighted the answers here. Okay? Another question. So, as I told you, the question types are divided into 2 types in the listening. Writing words and or numbers, or writing or choosing letters. The first question that we did was writing words and or numbers in part 1. Now we're gonna do another question which is also about writing words and or numbers, but this time it's part of part 4. And part 4 is one of the difficult parts. You remember? As I told you, part 4 is technically a speech or a talk from one person to a group of students about an academic subject. Like a professor talking to a group of students about a technical or an academic subject. Okay? Very similar to part 1, but it's only one person. I told you it is difficult. Why? Because it's going to be about an academic subject. However, because it's about an academic subject, this means it's going to be very organized. The speaker is going to be very organized when they speak. This means when they move from one point to another, it's going to be very clear. So you're going to read the questions. I'm going to do it with you quickly. Obviously, write one word. Oh, there's no end here. Write one word only. No end, yeah? Write one word only, yeah? It's a typo. Write one word only. So only one word. No numbers. No a number and a word. Only one word. And to be honest, this makes it much easier. It's only one word. So you only have to listen to one word. Easy peasy. See, the eucalyptus tree in Australia. What is eucalyptus? See, technical words. Do you really need to know what it means? Not really. It's just a type of a tree. Yeah? This is what I mean by technical academic words. And now you have to read quickly and highlight the keywords. Let me do it with you quickly. The importance. This means what is the importance of the eucalyptus tree? Okay, it's an important word. It provides, it gives what? And food for a wide range of species. Okay, so it gives maybe water and food, maybe shadow and food. It gives something and food to other animals. Obviously, if you do not know the word species, don't go to the exam. If you don't know the meaning of this word, don't go to the exam. Okay, Inji? Obviously, I'm joking with you. This means it's an important word that you have to know. So if you don't know it, that's fine. You can go to the exam after this course, okay? Its leaves provide something which is used to make disinfectant. Disinfectant is like Dettol, yeah? Kills bacteria. Anyway, you know what I mean, yeah? Now, another heading. Reasons for present decline in number. This means the number of the trees is going down. And now they're going to mention the reasons. The reason why I'm explaining these ones to you is because when you read the questions, don't just read. Again, do not just read. Read and explain them to yourself. Because trust me, probably they're not going to mention the word decline. Maybe they're going to say decrease. Maybe they're going to say going down. Yeah? They're not going to mention the exact same words. They're going to mention other words that have the same meaning. So when you are reading the questions, explain the questions to yourself so you understand the meaning. Don't expect to hear the exact same words. Cool? Cool. Diseases, obviously. By the way, this is part 4. Part 4 is from questions 31 to question 40. I divided it. I'm not going to play the entire thing, just letting you know. In the exam, it's going to be from 31 to 40 because I want to cover as many question types as I possibly can. Okay? Yeah, go through the questions and I'm going to play the recording very shortly. Highlight the keywords. Before I play the recording, do you want me to answer or do you want you to answer first? Just mention in the comments because some people are saying I should answer first. Say 1 for yourself, 2 for me. So I know which one you prefer. Okay, so you don't like me. Okay, no problem. Okay, I'll let you answer. Okay. So I don't care about you. Who do you think you are?
You will hear a student giving a presentation about a type of tree known as the eucalyptus, which is common in Australia. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Are you hearing the recording? This is going to be an Australian accent. Yeah. Just a quick note. You know why the pause is a little bit longer than usual? Because this is part 4. In part 4, as I told you, there's no pause in the middle. So you were supposed to be answering questions from number 31 to 34. That's why the pause at the beginning is a little bit longer than usual. Just letting you know. But in this slide, you're only going to be answering until question 34. In the real exam, it's going to be until 40.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, I'm going to talk about the eucalyptus tree. This is a very common tree here in Australia, where it's also sometimes called the gum tree. First, I'm going to talk about why it's important. Then I'm going to describe some problems it faces at present. Right, well, the eucalyptus tree is an important tree for lots of reasons. For example, it gives shelter to creatures like birds and bats, and these and other species also depend on it for food, particularly the nectar from its flowers. So it supports biodiversity. It's useful to us humans too, because we can kill germs with a disinfectant made from oil extracted from eucalyptus leaves. The eucalyptus grows all over Australia, and the trees can live for up to 400 years. So it's alarming that all across the country, numbers of eucalyptus are falling because the trees are dying off prematurely. So what are the reasons for this? One possible reason is disease. As far back as the 1970s, the trees started getting a disease called Mundula yellows. The tree's leaves would gradually turn yellow, then the tree would die. It wasn't until 2004 that they found the cause of the problem was lime, or calcium hydroxide, to give it its proper chemical name, which was being used in the construction of roads. The lime was being washed away into the ground and affecting the roots of the eucalyptus trees nearby. What it was doing was preventing the trees from sucking up the iron they needed for healthy growth. When this was injected back into the affected trees, they immediately recovered. But this problem only affected a relatively small number of trees. By 2000, huge numbers of eucalyptus were dying along Australia's east coast of a disease known as bell miner-associated dieback. The bell miner is a bird, and the disease seems to be common where there are high populations of bell miners. Again, it's the leaves of the trees that are affected. What happens is that insects settle on the leaves and eat their way round them, destroying them as they go, and at the same time they secrete a solution which has sugar in it. The bell miner birds really like this solution, and in order to get as much as possible, they keep away other creatures that might try to get it. So these birds and insects flourish at the expense of other species, and eventually so much damage is done to the leaves that the tree dies.
All right. Finished. Number 31. What is the answer for number 31? Shelter. Why people are saying stop writing until the end? Like when I write, is it annoying? I will mute myself next time. I apologize. Okay, I will. Okay, Alex, Oliver, 0, because you write shelter with a capital S. So you are going to get a 0 with a capital Z. Okay? So it's shelter in block letters. Shelter. Yeah? Some people are saying nectar. No. Nectar is incorrect. Yeah? Nectar is incorrect. It provides shelter, like home, and food for a wide range of species, animals. Alex Oliver is saying he's writing capital letters because of the keyboard. I don't care. Yeah? You have to familiarize yourself. All right, so number 31 is shelter. Number 32. Its leaves provide, which is used to make disinfectant. Najwa, 0. Where's Najwa? She's writing oil with a capital O. You're going to get a 0 with a capital Z. Noor is saying shelter again. No. Oil. All of you are getting zeros except Dalal. Dalal is going to get a good mark. Why? Because oil is O-I-L in capital letters. Everything in capital letters. Yeah? I'm going to start to give you zeros even for correct answers with small letters because I want you to get used to it. Yeah? So it's oil. O-I-L, all in block letters. Good. Number 33. The causes is lime used for making Ali, 0. Where is Ali? 0. I told you, write everything in block letters. Block letters, capital letters, 0, 0. For me, 0. You have to write roads like Dalal, like Safia, like Ru'a. Yeah? Okay, Asma Ibrahim. Where is Asma? Asma is going to get a 0. Why? Because Asma is saying the word, the answer is construction. Let's read the notes with the word construction. Lime used for making construction. The word construction is paraphrased using the word making. They mention the construction of roads, in other words, the making of roads. Yeah? So the word construction is wrong. Why? Because it's already written here. Making is technically constructing. Okay? So the correct answer is roads, not construction. Okay? Mena, 0. That's why you got a 5, Mena. Next time you might get a 4. All right, number 34. Ali is saying birds, insects. Salman, please write everything in block letters. Get used to it. Trust me. Trust me, in the exam, you're going to thank me. You're going to say, oh, Isa, thank God. Isa, I saw Isa on Instagram. Trust me. Yeah. Don't think about it. Noor, you're going to get a 0. Now you're going to tell me, oh, I wrote capital I because it's the keyboard. No. The correct answer is insects, all in block letters. Okay. These are the correct answers that I'm gonna accept. Shelter, oil, roads, insects. That's all. Do not write road, for example, it's a 0. Insect is a 0. Everything else is a 0. Yeah. Get yourself used to writing in block letters. Was it easy or difficult? 50-50? This is part 4. So this is supposed to be difficult. Regular, normal. Okay. You have to be careful. Hmm? Do you want me to play the recording again, or shall we move to another question type? Okay, this is the transcript. When I upload the video on YouTube, these are the answers. Okay? So you know what you read. Oh, so you know what you're listening to. Okay? Cool? Or shall I remove this? No need for it? Or you like it? You like it. Okay. Thank you, Mohammed. No problem. I will not remove it. Another question type, but this time we are going to be writing letters. You remember when I told you the question types? You might be writing words and or numbers. We finished them. Oh, we did not really finish them. These are just samples. There are many other ones as well that are covered in the full course. But this is a summarized crash course. Obviously, we cannot cover everything. There will be no time. Okay? But more or less the same concept. There is a few differences, obviously, because we have form completion, notes completion, table completion, flowchart completion, a lot of completion questions, but the general idea is the same. Now, it's going to be about choosing letters. So now in the answer sheet, you have to write letters, not words, not numbers. Letters are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you write anything else, you're going to get a number. A 0. Okay? For example, let's say number 21. The answer was selfish. For example, if you write the word selfish, you're going to get a 0. Even though it's the correct answer. Why? Because you should write letter B. Why B? Because they're asking you here, look at the cursor. Write the correct letter from A to H. You have to write the letter. You're not allowed to write the word. And this is a common mistake a lot of students make. Okay? So this is another question type. Let me read it with you. What did findings of previous research claim about personality traits a child is likely to have because of their position in the family? This question here is very important. See the cursor? If you do not read this, you're not going to be able to answer the questions. Why? Because they're asking you about the findings in the research. People might be talking about their own opinions, for example, in the question. For example, Sarah, let's say, she thinks that the eldest child is selfish. But the research saying something else. The research tells you that the eldest child is caring. What is the correct answer? Caring. Why? Because we only care about the research. Why? Because this is the question. We are asking about the findings of the previous research. So if you do not read this, you're not going to be able to answer the questions. You can still see me, correct? Okay, so you have to answer these questions. The first thing that you have to do is to read the actual question, this one. And now you have a list of options to choose from. I want you to be careful. This is important. This is what we call a matching question. You have to match the questions with the correct letters. We have a lot of items in the list here. Personality traits, like characteristics, personality types, outgoing, selfish, independent, blah, blah, blah. These are the possible answers. And these are, here, from 21 to 26, these are the questions. As you noticed, in the previous question types, we are always hearing the questions in the same order of the recording. This means question number 1 first, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. Correct? Which is easy, which is good. This is correct for all the question types in the listening. You will always hear the questions in the same order of the recording, which is a good thing. But now, are you going to be hearing the questions here in the same order of the recording? Or the questions here, have to be careful. These are the questions. The questions are the words that are starting in numbers. These are the possible answers that you're going to be choosing from. These ones from 21 to 26, focus. You will hear them in order. This means they will mention the eldest child first, and then the middle child, and then the youngest child, and then the twin, and then the only child, and then number 26. However, these ones here from A to H will not be in order. So these ones are in order, these ones are going to be mixed up. So you have to keep your eye on these numbers, and these ones you have to memorize them and keep them in your mind. So before you start to listen to the recording, this is what I would do. I would read all of them. I would comprehend, understand, paraphrase all of them, and I would memorize all of them. For example, the word outgoing, I would read it. Guess what? They're not going to mention it in the recording. They're going to paraphrase it. Selfish, they're not going to mention it. Independent, they're not going to mention it. Attention seeking, they're not going to mention it. Introverted, they're not going to mention it. Cooperative, they're not going to mention it. Caring, they're not going to mention it. Competitive, they're not going to mention it. They're not going to mention any word of these words. But they're going to be mentioning synonyms of these words. That's why you have to read them, understand them, and memorize them. And then keep your eye here. Okay? So now, see, I read them once. I have in my mind, caring, independent, selfish, outgoing, introverted, and I know what these words mean. For example, I know that outgoing is someone who likes to maybe make friends. Someone who's introverted is someone who's shy, who doesn't like to see people. Someone who's independent is someone who likes to do things by themselves. So I read them and I understood them. Okay? Because you cannot go back and forth in the exam. You're going to get a 0. You're not going to have time. So you have to have maybe fish oil before you go to the exam to have a strong memory. Okay? Okay, Isa, no problem. Shall I play the recording? Yes, Isa, play the recording. We're sick of you talking. Okay, we're going to play the recording. Don't worry. Thank you, Isa. Finally. All right, ready? Ready.
You will hear 2 psychology students discussing the effects of the order in which the children in a family are born. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26.
Most of you are going to get 0s because it's going to be difficult. So pay attention. And this is, by the way, part 3. Part 3, it's a discussion between 2 to 4 people about an academic subject. That's why it's an academic subject. 2 students are talking to each other. So be careful.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Ed, how are you getting on with the reading for our presentation next week?
Well, okay, Ruth, but there's so much of it.
I know. I hadn't realised birth order was such a popular area of research.
But the stuff on birth order and personality is mostly unreliable. From what I've been reading, a lot of the claims about how your position in the family determines certain personality traits are just stereotypes, with no robust evidence to support them.
OK, but that's an interesting point. We could start by outlining what previous research has shown. There are studies going back over 100 years.
Yeah, so we could just run through some of the typical traits. Like the consensus seems to be that oldest children are generally less well-adjusted because they never get over the arrival of a younger sibling.
Right, but on a positive note, some studies claim that they were thought to be good at nurturing. Certainly in the past, when people had large families, they would have been expected to look after the younger ones.
There isn't such a clear picture for middle children, but one trait that a lot of the studies mention is that they are easier to get on with than older or younger siblings.
Generally eager to please and helpful, although that's certainly not accurate as far as my family goes. My middle brother was a nightmare, always causing fights and envious of whatever I had.
As I said, none of this seems to relate to my own experience. I'm the youngest in my family, and I don't recognise myself in any of the studies I've read about. I'm supposed to have been a sociable and confident child who made friends easily, but I was actually terribly shy.
Really? That's funny. There have been hundreds of studies on twins, but mostly about nurture versus nature.
There was one on personality which said that a twin is likely to be quite shy in social situations because they always have their twin around to depend on for support.
My cousins were like that when they were small. They were only interested in each other and found it hard to engage with other kids. They're fine now, though.
Only children have had a really bad press. A lot of studies have branded them as loners who think the world revolves around them because they've never had to fight for their parents' attention.
That does seem a bit harsh. One category I hadn't considered before was children with much older siblings. A couple of studies mentioned that these children grow up more quickly and are expected to do basic things for themselves, like getting dressed.
I can see how that might be true, although I expect they're sometimes the exact opposite, playing the baby role and clamouring for special treatment.
Do you want to cry? No? Yeah, how many zeros you gonna get? Isa, we're gonna get 6 zeros because we have 6 questions, so are wrong, 6 zeros. See, this is part 3. In my opinion, part 3 is the most difficult. Before I tell you about the answers, have you noticed that they didn't mention any single word from the possible answers, the personality traits? They didn't mention any one of them. When they mentioned the word, or when they spoke about outgoing, they said something about making friends and being easy to get along with. When they spoke about the word selfish, I think they mentioned something about not liking to care about other people and you think that the world revolves around you, yeah, like you're the center of attention. When they mentioned something about being independent, they said something about you being capable of doing certain things by yourself. See? They would never mention the words. They would always use synonyms and they would always paraphrase. Okay? And have you noticed that from question 21 to 26, they mentioned the words in the questions. They mentioned the eldest child, the middle child, the youngest child, a twin, the only child, and a child with much older siblings. So the questions, most of the times, they will mention the words in these questions, but the answers are not going to be mentioned clearly. Okay? And I want you to pay attention to something else. A lot of the answers, or a lot of the questions, the two speakers said things about their own experiences. And they also mentioned things about the research. What do we care about? The research or their own experiences? Depends on the question. The question says, what did findings of the previous research? So we care about the research. We do not really care about their own experiences. Yeah? Because some of them are saying something that's opposite to the research. In fact, they did not agree with any of the findings of the research. So that's why reading the actual question itself is very important. Okay? To know what answer to choose. Okay? Now let me see how many zeros you got. I'll ask you questions and you tell me how many zeros you've got. Okay? Abdul Rahman, don't mention all the answers. Relax. All right. Question number 21. What is the answer? G. Oh, writing all in capital letters. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. That's correct. G is the correct answer. Yeah. The eldest child is caring. And they didn't say caring. I think they said they look after the other children, which means caring. Okay. Okay. Number 22. Minna, that's why you got a 5. 22. I can see a lot of zeros now. Let me tell you something. In this question type, which is called matching, and I explained this in my full course, when you choose the correct answer for a question and you're confident about it, the first thing that you do is you cross it out from the options. So you do not have to use it again. So you don't even have to confuse yourself. So number 21 was G. This means G is not going to be used for the following questions. Cross it out with your pencil. So you have less answers to choose from, or fewer answers to be grammatically correct. Okay? So the answer for number 22, a middle child, is F. F, which is cooperative. Yeah? Next time I should print the script so I can read it. Okay? F is when you fail at university. They give you F. Isa, I always get a D. MashaAllah. D? You should get an A. Yeah, D, no problem. As long as it's a pass. Okay, number 22, the middle child is F. F. Yeah. Cooperative. I think they mentioned something about. One second, let me read it for you. See? Eager to please and helpful. That's why it's F. You didn't see the correct answers, yeah? F is cooperative because it's helpful means cooperative, yeah? When you're eager to please other people and helping other people, this means you're cooperative. All right, number 23, the youngest child. Hey. Oh. Come and teach in front of me instead of me. Come. Come and teach. Here's the mouse. Take it. Teach. A is the correct answer. Good. So the youngest child, outgoing. I think they mentioned something about having the ability to make friends and to be friendly, yeah? So obviously, because we chose G, we have to cross it out. And then we chose F, we cross it out. And then A, we cross it out. Okay? So now for the following questions, do not mention these three letters. All right. Number 24, a twin. E. Wow. Are you cheating from each other? Why are you attending this course? Let's go do the exam, for God's sake. Yeah. Okay, E is the correct answer. Introverted. Obviously, the word introvert means that you are very shy, you do not like to see other people. The opposite of this word is extrovert. When you are very social, you have a lot of friends, you keep talking to other people. Yeah. Okay, so 24 is E. 25. I like the fact that everyone is writing with block letters. That's good. The correct answer is B. B for Bob. Selfish. Yeah. And they mentioned this about being selfish. Yeah. They are loners. They think that the world revolves around them. They think that they are the mahwar of the cone. Okay. All right. Number 26. A child with a lot of other siblings. Wow. C for Charlie, correct. Independent. Yeah. Correct. These are the correct answers. G for George. F for Frank. A for Adam. E for Elizabeth. B for Bob. C for Charlie. Okay? Anything else is a Z for 0. This is the script. And I highlighted here the keyword from the question and the meaning that represents the answer. The keyword from the question and the meaning that represents the answer. Keyword from the question, the meaning that represents the answer. Keyword from the question, meaning that represents the answer. Okay? And now, when we speak about how to study by yourself, I will tell you how to do it by yourself because it's very important. Okay? You got 2 correct answers, Mena. 2 correct answers means you're not going to go to Canada. You're probably just going to go to Asyut. This is what 2 answers are going to get you to. Yeah? Probably, yeah? Asyut, not further than this. Yeah? That's the furthest it's going to take you. Okay? All right, focus. Now, also another question type, which is about choosing the correct letters, but now it's not matching, it's multiple choice. And the multiple choice in the IELTS exam is not like multiple choice in high school where you have one word as an answer. Here, each choice of the 3 choices is a very long, complicated sentence. This means you have to read not only the question, but all the options that can be answers and understand them and memorize them. Why? Because during the recording, you cannot read and listen at the same time. Again, you cannot read and listen at the same time. That's why you have to read first and then listen. Why people are turning the cameras off, everyone? Do you want me to leave? I can leave. You want me to leave? Here's the door. I can leave. See, Abdurrahman is traveling. He's in the bus or metro, and he's still having the camera on because he loves me. Salman Tajur, he left. Rawia, because of the hijab. You're not the only one who's wearing the hijab. All the girls here are technically wearing hijab. The only ones who are not wearing hijab is Abdul Rahman, Ali, and Omar, and me. Everyone else is wearing hijab. Yeah. So please, if you can turn the camera on, that would make us a little bit more engaged. Yeah. Please, if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, I understand. That's fine. No pressure. But if you can, that's good. All right. So now we have a multiple choice question. Do you want to take a break, or is it good? A break. Okay. Shall we take a break for 5 minutes? 5 minutes, because 5 minutes. Let's take a break for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and we'll come back because it's maybe a lot of information. Yeah, Sarah? Yeah, 5 minutes only. 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay. So it's now 11:17. We'll come back at 11:22. 11:22. Okay. Yeah. You can turn the camera off. Maybe go to the kitchen, have a snack, go to the washroom, relax, and come back. Yeah. I should take a break as well because I've been talking the most. I need a break from you. You know, when you want to break up with someone, we should take a break and see how things go. Yeah, yeah, Ali. Uh, but when you say this means you're definitely gonna break up. When you want to take a break. Okay, let's take a break and see how things go. Things are gonna go bad, Isa. Well, Abdurrahman, long time no see. Yeah. Are you in Egypt or in Kuwait these days, Abdurrahman? Kuwait? Where is the chat? I'm sick of this Zoom thing. Your laugh is beautiful. It's the laugh of the rich like this. Yeah, the laugh is beautiful, but the money is not there. Oh, well, it sounds like I'm a rich person. Abdurrahman, where are you these days? In Egypt, or have you immigrated somewhere? Kuwait. Yeah, because I can see a lot of probably like laborers behind you. Yeah, you're in a city bus. Allah, I miss you, my brother. Thanks for attending, man. I really appreciate it. Inji, are you having fun? You're not having fun? Why? Inji, come on. I will cancel the class if you're not having fun. Please have fun. Angie. Come on. Have fun. You were in Al Jahra? Yalla, we are back. We are back. We are back. Oh, you had a lot of zeros? As they say in English, the apple and the tree. Your mother is Mena. What do you expect? Yeah. Yeah. The apple and the tree. As they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Okay. No. Salman, welcome back. Why did you turn the camera off? Isa, I changed my clothes. I want to go to bed now. Rabia, good, good. I like the blurry background you have. That's good. Yalla, we're back. Amar. Yalla, back, we're back. Tuqa. Ah, you شويات? Thought شويفات. Okay. Isa, if I was شويفات, I wouldn't even need to do the IELTS. I would be very rich. I'm only شويات. شوية only. شويفات, this means I'm billionaire. Correct, no? If you're شويفات, you would be. Yalla, we're back. Shall we start? Thumbs up if you want me to start. Thumbs up. Ali. Yeah, thumbs up. Are you paying attention? Do you want me to turn the chat off? Is it distracting? Or is it good? It's good, yeah? Not distracting? Good. I can block you if you want from chatting. I think it's good. All right. Yeah. I want you to pay attention. So now we have a question type. In my opinion, is this question type is the most difficult question type that I struggle with myself, which is the multiple choice questions. Yes, it is multiple choice, but look at the choices. For God's sake, the choices are longer than the question. Focus with me. The choices are longer than the question itself. In this question type, you have to be careful. Why? Because you do not have time to read, understand what you read, and listen at the same time. This means you should read and understand what you read before the start of the recording. Again, you should read, understand what you read before the start of the recording. And guess what? Reading only once is not enough. You should read at least twice. Why? Because the sentences are not easy to understand. For example, look at A. There is conflicting evidence about whether oldest children perform best in intelligence tests. When you read this, you have to explain it to yourself because they're never going to mention anything the same way it's mentioned in the question. So you have to read it and you should say, there is conflicting evidence. This means some people are saying yes, some people are saying no about that the older children are doing better in intelligence tests. Technically, older children are smarter. But some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. So you have to understand when you read, A means that some people think older children are smarter, some people think older children are not smarter. You have to explain it to yourself. Don't just read. It's difficult. Number two, there is little doubt that birth order has less influence on academic achievement than socioeconomic status. For God's sake, Isa. Even in Arabic, I cannot understand this. You want me to understand this in English? You want to immigrate to Canada? Understand this. Yeah? Or stay in your country. So you have to explain it to yourself. So there is little doubt. I'm showing you how I'm explaining it to myself. There is little doubt. This means it's almost certain. Little doubt. This means it's almost certain that birth order, this means position in the family, has less influence. This means it's less important on academic achievement than on socio-economic status. Socio-economic status, this means how rich the family is, the social class of the family. Yeah. So you have to explain it to yourself when you read it. Yeah. Again, this means it's almost certain that the position in the family or the birth order is less important on academic achievement than how rich or poor the family is. You have to explain it to yourself because they're not going to mention the exact same order of words in the recording. It's difficult. It is difficult. It is difficult. It is difficult. It is difficult. But it's not difficult if you do what I tell you to do. Oh, thank you, Isa. I was about to cry. Yeah. I'm here to help you. Okay? See, some studies have neglected or ignored to include important factors such as family size or how many members in the family. So when you read the options, do not just read blindly. Please read and paraphrase them and explain these options to yourself. So you have to understand. So now I'm not looking at the screen. Focus with me. I'm not looking at the screen. But I can remember that there are three options. One of them was talking about the order of the family or the order of birth is less important than how rich the family is. I can remember it. One of them was also about they ignored the family size, like the family size is not important. They didn't take it into consideration. And one of them was about I forgot the last one. You have to memorize them. Okay? I'm serious. Because in the exam, you don't have time to read. Trust me. You don't have time to read. Yeah. Okay? Anyway, go through them, highlight the important words, and explain them to yourself. Let me tell you one last tip. See A, B, and C. You're going to listen and hear A, B, and C most of the times. So they will mention something about intelligence tests. They will mention probably intelligence tests. They will mention social economic status. They will mention family size. But you have to choose the correct one. So the fact that you are hearing one word in this option, this doesn't mean it's the correct option. So these three options, they are going through them. One of them is going to be correct. One of them is going to be incorrect. And probably the last one can be incorrect, or they might not even talk about it. Okay? So you have to be careful. While you are listening, cross out the answers that you know is incorrect. Because sometimes that they might say, for example, for question number 27, some studies included family size. This means C is wrong. I will cross it. This means definitely wrong. So while you're listening, cross out the answers that you know are definitely wrong. Okay? I spoke a lot. I do not like to speak a lot. Go through these two questions. Highlight the keywords, understand them, explain them to yourself. And obviously, we only have two. In the exam, you might have 5 of similar questions. I'm giving you more time in the exam. More time than in the exam. Let me give you a heads up. A lot of you are going to get zeros when I play the recording. So it's fine. Expect it. Okay? It's fine. No problem. Are you ready?
What was the problem with most of these studies, do you think?
I think it was because, in a lot of cases, data was collected from only one sibling per family, who rated him or herself and his or her siblings at the same time.
Some of the old research into the relationship between birth order and academic achievement has been proved to be accurate, though. Performances in intelligence tests declined slightly from the eldest child to his or her younger siblings. This has been proved in lots of recent studies.
Yes, although what many of them didn't take into consideration was family size. The more siblings there are, the likelier the family is to have a low socio-economic status, which can also account for differences between siblings in academic performance.
The oldest boy might be given more opportunities than his younger sisters, for example.
Exactly.
But the main reason for the marginally higher academic performance of oldest children is quite surprising, I think. It's not only that they benefit intellectually from extra attention at a young age, which is what I would have expected. It's that they benefit from being teachers for their younger siblings by verbalizing processes.
Right. And this gives them status and confidence, which again contributes in a small way to better performance.
Finished. Because this is part of part 3. It's only 2 questions. We have more questions, but this is for this question type. Yeah, that's why the recording is short, because I cut it myself. Don't try the answers. Let me ask you first, because otherwise it's gonna get confusing. Okay? Yeah. What is the answer for number 27? A, C, 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 A. 27. A lot of people are saying A, but they're not getting A. They're getting Z. A, Z. Z is 0. Yeah, because the answer is C. Yeah, for question number 27, the answer is C. So if you wrote A, you're going to get a Z, which is 0. Okay? Have you noticed that they mentioned intelligence tests, and they mentioned socioeconomic status, and they mentioned family size? They mentioned all of them. Well, you have to be careful. Which one is correct? Yeah? Regarding A, I'm not going to take you through each one of them, but A is definitely incorrect. Why? Because here it says there is conflicting evidence. This means some people agree and some people disagree. But the research has said that the evidence is clear. Everyone agrees that the oldest children perform best in intelligence tests. This means A is definitely incorrect because it's not conflicting evidence. It's very clear evidence. You got it? A is incorrect. because they mentioned the opposite of what is mentioned in A. Okay? Number 28. What is 28? A. Oh. Correct, because you heard the word teachers. Okay, no problem. That was an easy one. Yeah, A is correct. Yeah? A is correct. It's mainly thanks to their roles as teachers for their younger siblings. But this is a difficult question type, by the way. Yeah? In the exam, you might have not just 2, you might have 4 or 5 similar questions in one part, which makes it very difficult to read and understand. There's no time to read. Okay? Again, in our full comprehensive course on the website, we go through a lot of similar question types in detail, and we go through each one of the answers. But because it's a crash course, just to prepare you quickly, this is how it looks like. So these are the answers. C and A. C, A. I always highlight the keywords from the question and the keywords from the answer. Yeah? Relationship between birth order and academic achievement. Although what many of them did not take into consideration, in other words, neglected, was the family size. Remember? This was C. Regarding the second question, they benefit from being teachers for their younger siblings by verbalizing processes. Yeah, teaching the younger siblings how to get things done. Okay? I will tell you how to study solo in the coming slides, because this is how I study by myself. Okay? Again, choosing correct letters. We have another question type, which is also a multiple choice question, but in this question type, you have to choose 2 options for 2 questions. We have 2 questions, 29 and 30, and they want us to choose 2 letters from A to E. You obviously have to read the question to know what answers to look for. What 2 experiences of sibling rivalry do speakers agree has been valuable for them? So both of the speakers have to agree. If one speaker says, for example, learning to share has been valuable, this doesn't mean it's the correct answer. Why? Because both of the speakers have to agree that this is correct. So be careful. We have 2 speakers. We have Ruth and Ed. Okay? Both of them have to agree that 2 things of these things have been valuable or important to them. Read them, and obviously they're not going to appear in order. A, B, C, D, and E are not going to appear in order, and they're not going to be mentioned the exact same way, obviously. Okay? Read the options, understand the options, memorize the options, and then we will play the recording. You obviously have to understand these words. For example, when you say learning to share, you should understand that, oh, okay, when you have siblings, sometimes you give them maybe a sandwich or a bottle of water or something, sharing the PlayStation with them. You have to explain it to yourself. To stand up for oneself, this means to defend yourself. Yeah? When someone slaps you in the face, you're defending yourself. You slap them in the face. Yeah? Learning to be tolerant. Tolerant means to accept something that's unpleasant. Yeah? to put up with a lot of unpleasant things. If you don't know the meaning of the word tolerant, you're not going to get the answer. Okay? Learning to say sorry, this means learning to apologize. Yeah? I'm just trying to explain these words to myself because obviously I'm not going to be hearing the exact same words. I'm going to be hearing something that means these words. And now without me looking at the screen, I can remember them. Saying sorry or apologizing, being tolerant or accepting something that's not nice or not pleasant, sharing something, defending myself. Yeah, I have them in my mind because they're not going to be in order. Okay, but what are these things that I'm going to be choosing? These are the valuable lessons that both speakers agree that are valuable to them when you have competition with your siblings. Rivalry means competition with your brothers and sisters. Okay? So I'm explaining the question to myself using my own words. Are you ready?
So, would you say sibling rivalry has been a useful thing for you?
I think so. My younger brother was incredibly annoying, and we fought a lot. But I think this has made me a stronger person. I know how to defend myself. We had some terrible arguments, and I would have died rather than apologise to him. But we had to put up with each other, and most of the time we coexisted amicably enough.
Yes, my situation was pretty similar. But I don't think having two older brothers made me any less selfish. I was never prepared to let my brothers use any of my stuff.
That's perfectly normal, whereas sometimes...
Isa, come on. I haven't even started. It's finished already? Yes, it's finished. Bad news that it's finished. Correct, it's finished. And I want you to pay attention. They mentioned something about, I think, sharing or being selfish, which is the opposite of sharing. They mentioned this. They mentioned something about defending yourself. They mentioned something about defending yourself. They mentioned something about not apologizing or saying sorry. Yeah. Or they mentioned something about not accepting defeat. They mentioned almost all of the options. But sometimes they would mention the option. Sometimes they would mention the opposite of the option. You have to be careful. So what is the answer for number 29? And what is the answer for number 30? And let me tell you something here. Oh, wait. How many questions do we have here? One or two? Two questions. In the answer sheet, how many boxes we're going to be having? Two boxes to write the answers in, correct? In each box, we should only write one letter. If you write two letters in one box, you're going to get 2 zeros in one box. Or technically, 2 zeros in two boxes. This means 4 zeros. This means 1 0. Because 0 multiplied by 0 is a 0. In each box, you have to write one letter. We have 29 and 30. The order in which you write the answers is not important. For example, if the correct answers are A and C, you can write 29A and 30C, or you can write 29C and 30A. But if you write A and C or C and A in the same box, you are going to get a 0. These are the correct answers. B and D. And if you wrote D and then B, this is also correct. So 29 could be B and could be D. 30 could be B and could be D. But the most important thing is to only write one letter in each box. Again, you should only write one letter in each box. The order is not important. However, again, you should only write one letter in each box. We've got a Russian name here. I think they're from Uzbekistan. What's your name? Because I cannot read Russian. You wrote B and D, you're going to get a Z and Z. This means zeros, yeah? What's your name, the Russian guy or the Russian girl? Please write it in English. Istabrak wrote B underscore D. You're going to get Z underscore Z. Okay? So only one letter in each box. Correct? Clear? B, learning to stand up for oneself. Why? Because they mentioned something about defending yourself. When you stand up for yourself, this means you're defending yourself. D, learning to be tolerant. Tolerant means to accept unpleasant behaviors from other people. In other words, putting up with unpleasant behaviors. They mentioned, I think, putting up. See? How to defend myself. This means standing up for yourself. Put up with each other. This means you're being tolerant. They mentioned something about apologizing, but she said, I would have died rather than to apologize to him. This means I wouldn't apologize easily. But the question or the answer is saying, learning to say sorry. No, they didn't say sorry. They said that they would die rather than apologizing. This means E is incorrect. You got it? They would mention the answers, but they would mention the opposite of the answers. Okay? So you have to be careful. And if they're mentioning the opposite of the answer, cross it out. This means it's incorrect. Yeah? And he says, but I don't think having two older brothers made me any less selfish. This means he is selfish. This means he doesn't share anything. When you're selfish, you don't share. This means A is also wrong. You got it? So you have to be careful. They would mention almost all the options, but you have to be able to eliminate the incorrect ones. Is it clear? Thumbs up if it's clear. Good. All right. Now you can relax a little bit. No more questions. I want to relax a bit. Look at my ears, they're turning red. Yeah, me and Ali. Oh, relax. You throw the pen and the paper. It's okay. Obviously, let me tell you something. Again, because this is a summarized crash emergency course, I'm not covering every single thing. We're trying to be a little bit quick and fast. In the full course on the website, we mention every single thing in detail with many examples. Okay? With explanations, obviously. But because it's a short course, I just want to show you how it feels like, how it looks like. Okay? Because the questions in the listening, we have sentence completion, we have form completion, we have notes completion, we have flowchart completion, we have labeling, we have mapping, we have matching, we have multiple choice version 1, we have multiple choice version 2. We have a lot of question types, and each one of them is explained separately with separate examples. But if I want to explain everything now, it's going to be too long. Okay? Just letting you know, the listening course on the website is by itself around 8 hours. Just the listening. Okay? So if you're interested in having more examples and wanting to know more about the listening exam, you can check the website. Yeah, it's a paid course, obviously, because there's a lot of work in it. But this is a summarized version. It's also helpful if you do not have time to study. Okay? Good. So now, I want you to pay attention to you remember the roadmap I told you? The chapters? Again, because I want you to understand, we're not teaching randomly. We covered chapter 1, IELTS 101. Chapter 2, study materials. Chapter 3, words to know. Chapter 4, listening. And in chapter 4, we covered multiple sub-chapters. We covered the components, the parts. We've covered the answer sheet, time management, topics, and question types. And now we're going to be covering scoring. And after we finish scoring, we're going to cover solo studying, how to study by yourself. These are sub-chapters inside the listening chapter. Okay? So now, since we finished question types, let's talk about the scoring. How is your score being calculated out of 9 in the exam? Scoring, look at the photo. Back to the photos now. Yeah? Scoring. Track the score. Aim for more. Isa, why do you say more? Score. Speak like a man. Score. More. It's not about being a man. This is how they speak. Okay, I think I am a man. Yeah? Track the score. Aim for more. Okay, so as I told you previously, we have 4 sections or 4 parts in the listening exam. Each part has 10 questions. This means you have 40 questions. This means you have 40 answers. So how do you get a score out of 9? They give you a score out of 9 based on this chart. If you answer 39 to 40 correct answers, you're going to get a 9 out of 9. If you answer, for example, 18 to 22 correct answers, they're going to give you a 5.5. If you answer 30 questions correctly, you're going to get a 7. If you like Mena, who got a 5, this means she only got 16 correct answers. Yeah, you're taking a photo and you got a 5. Yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay, I'm joking. All right, so take a screenshot of this, or it's gonna be on YouTube. Based on this, you're gonna get your score. So most of us want to get maybe a 6 or a 7. Look here, to get a 7, you only have to get 30 correct answers. What does that mean? Part 1 and part 2 are very easy. Out of 20 questions, honestly, you can easily get 15 correct answers. Easily in part 1 and part 2. You get 15. In part 3, get only 10. Not only 10. Get only 5 out of 10. And in part 4, get 5 as well. So 15 in part 1 and 2. And then 5 and 5 in part 3 and 4. This is 25. That's a 6. Not bad. Yeah. So if you got 20, which is technically 50% of 40, they're not going to give you 4.5, by the way. If you get 20, they're going to give you 5.5. So it's above 50%. Yeah, good. Mena is telling me she's got 5.5. This means she's got 18 correct answers out of 40. Yeah, this means it's less than 50%. So it's an F. If it's a university, they'll give you an F. And you'll have to repeat the subject. Yeah? Okay, and let me tell you something, by the way. On the IELTS official website, they publish the scores of, like, they have statistics on their website, official statistics. Listening is the easiest part of the IELTS. So most people get their highest score in the listening. Why? Because we do listen most of the time. Yeah? We do listen more than we speak, correct? We do listen more than we write, correct? We do listen more than we read, correct? That's why listening has the highest score in the IELTS. Yet, Mena got 5.5. Imagine what she got in the other sections. Yeah? Sorry, man. Okay, take a screenshot of this. Okay? Now, studying solo. Train your E. No fee is ni. He said, why don't you pronounce the R? Train your ear. No fear is near. Yes, this is when you speak Arabic, but we speak in English. Train your E. No fee is ni. He said, is this English? No fee is ni. But this is how you say it. Train your E. No fee is ni. When you train your E's, the fee is going to become far away. Look at the photo. Look at the photo. If you notice, the guy is sitting through the table. There's something wrong with the photo if you pay attention. Like there's a table behind him and next to him and in front of him. They drilled him in the table. Yeah? This is AI. So, studying alone. You have to study alone. Why? Because sometimes you do not really have time to study with other people. You have to study by yourself. How to study by yourself? How? Focus. I'm going to show you the steps. And this photo is important. I'll tell you why this photo is important now. For you to be able to study listening by yourself, because a lot of you, especially for the listening and the reading, you prefer to study by yourself. A lot of you. Yeah? After taking the course, you want to do a lot of practice. Yeah? Because the good thing about the listening and the reading, that you know the correct answers. They are already mentioned in the book. So you can calculate your score. So you can study by yourself for listening and reading. If you know the basic information, obviously, like the information I explained to you. How to do this properly, like I did in the past, probably more than 10 years ago. Focus with me because it's important. Number one, print out the exam papers and the answer sheet. Print it out. Don't study just using the slides or using your computer screen. You have to mimic and copy the exam conditions by printing out the exam papers and the answer sheets. Look here. Because I was preparing for the lesson, yeah? I printed out. Look. Up until today, I'm still printing out. Look. This is reading, listening, another listening, another listening, another listening, another reading. It's 12 o'clock. I have to go to bed. Another reading. You have to print them on A4 paper. You have to print them on A4 papers. Why? Because this is how you're going to be doing them in the exam. Very important. And that's why we have this photo, by the way. This guy is waiting for the papers to come out. So do this, please. Because you have to highlight the keywords, you have to scribble, yeah? Very important. Number two, after you print them out, practice under exam conditions. For example, when you do the listening, you have to sit at a quiet space. You have to sit in a quiet space at your desk with headphones on, no distractions, and do everything within the time frame. Like, do not pause the recording, do not check the script. You know what I mean? Do it under exam conditions. Trust me, it's very important. I'm telling you this out of experience. If you don't do this in the exam, you're gonna cry. Okay? So number 1, print them out. Number 2, practice under exam conditions. Number 3, calculate your score. After you finish, for example, a test, calculate your score out of 9 based on how many correct answers you've got. Yeah, you've got 25, 30, 35. Calculate your score. This is for one test. But after you calculate your score, what do? Do you just move to the next test? No, do not move to the next test. Review the mistakes and check the script, the transcript, and the audio again. You have to know why you made these mistakes. If you do not understand why you're making the mistakes, you're going to be repeating similar mistakes in the future. So after you calculate your score, you should know why you made these mistakes by reading the script again while listening to the recording. It's very important. Okay? And while you're doing this, look up unfamiliar words in the dictionary. For example, if you do not know the word nectar, or the word insects, or the word biodiversity, you have to look it up in the dictionary. Why? Isa, maybe it's not gonna show up in the other sections. No. A lot of words in the listening and the reading, trust me, they keep showing up in all the exams. Trust me. Yeah? The words that you do not know in the transcript, look it up. Look up the words that you do not know. In the questions and in the transcript as well. Not just in the questions, but also in the transcript. The transcript is the script, yeah? You have to look it up in the dictionary. Which dictionary? Cambridge Dictionary. Google it. Cambridge Dictionary. It's dictionary.cambridge.org. You have to do this. And then, research unfamiliar topics. This is an extra step, it's very important. For example, while we were doing the listening now, we did one question for part 4. And it was about the eucalyptus tree in Australia. And they spoke about lime and insects and birds. What I would personally do, I would go to YouTube and watch a very short documentary, about 5 to 10 minutes, educating myself about this subject. Why? Because when you read or when you listen to something that you don't even know about, it's not going to make sense to you. But when you link it to a video or when you link it to a picture, trust me, you're never going to forget it. For example, look at this photo, this guy. When you remember this photo, you're not going to forget what I'm telling you now, correct? You have to link the information visually as well. So when you watch a short YouTube video about the subject that you are listening to, trust me, you're never going to forget it. It's really helpful. I'm telling you this out of my own experience. And trust me, the topics in the reading and in the writing, the topics in the listening and in the reading, they keep repeating more or less. They're always about nature, animals, science, same topics, same words. So if you educate yourself, trust me, it's gonna help. It's gonna help you. Not just in the listening, but in the reading, and in the writing, and in the speaking. Okay? So do yourself a favor and research some of these topics. Trust me, it's gonna help you, especially in part 4 in the listening. Okay? This is how I studied. And I think I already told you, I got 9 in the listening. 9, this means I got 40 correct answers. Not because I'm very smart, I'm not very smart, but because I did a lot of tests and I followed these steps. Okay? And then after you do this, move to the next test and repeat the process. This is how you study alone. Do not just do tests by yourself. Do the test under exam conditions by printing out the papers and the answer sheets and mimic exam conditions and then review the mistakes, look up unfamiliar words, research unfamiliar topics, and then move to the next test and repeat the process. This is how you study by yourself. And I understand sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes you lose the motivation to do this by yourself. That's why in our courses, and I'm going to be starting doing this very soon, we have workshops, because a lot of people are lazy to do this by themselves. They need someone like me, like an instructor, to go through the questions with them, to feel motivated. Like, okay, today we're going to be doing this and this and this. Tomorrow we're going to be doing this and this and this. And this is what we do in our full courses. We have like workshops where I motivate you. I'll tell you, today you're going to be doing these 3 tests. Tomorrow you're going to be doing these 3 tests. And here are the videos. And here are the scripts. So you feel like there's a community feeling. You're not doing it by yourself. Because if you want to do it by yourself, you lose the motivation. If I want to record this video by myself, I will lose the motivation, to be honest. That's why I have you. Like, we have like a community. You know what I mean? So the feeling of the community is something that I started to understand, that it's very important in my courses. Yeah? Having the community vibe is very important. So if you feel like you need a community, check our website. We're going to help you. I'm going to be there attending all the workshops with you guys. I wanted to cover reading, but there's no time. It's already 12:08. But next session is going to be about reading. And reading, again, we're going to cover the same sub-chapters that we covered for listening. So it's very organized. Components, answer sheet, time management, popular topics, question types, scoring, solo studying. We're going to be doing the exact same strategy. And we're going to apply the same strategy to writing and speaking as well. And this is my style of teaching. I like to make you visualize what you're going to be studying in the course, because otherwise you're going to feel like you are all over the place. Okay? So this is the end of today's class. It took us longer than expected, but because it was a lot of practical exercises, even though we did not really do a lot, we did a few, but it is what it is. If you want to get a good score, you have to practice properly. Okay?